I think we are on the YouTube. Cool. And if you're ready, man, I'll kick us off and we'll get going with this thing.
Yeah. Sounds good, bud.
All right, man. Well, welcome back, everyone, to another Fall Obsession podcast. I'm Sam, hosting you guys as always. And the, oh, I'm going to restart because I'm sorry, man.
No, no
I am
problem.
struggling today with this stuff. All right. For real this time. Sorry, guys. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another Fall Obsession podcast. My name is Sam. I'm hosting you guys. And this week I'm joined by Chad Davis. He is the founder of BOWADX. Welcome to Fall Obsession Podcast, man.
Happy to be here, buddy. Yeah.
I'm excited, man. I feel like I don't know you very well, and at the same time, I've already had a to have you on here and get to talk about the brand and everything that you're doing and everything you're building. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, man. Super excited. Yeah, and it's way better in my office in here versus being outside.
Did we get you away from the heat?
Oh, I bet I lost 5 or 6 pounds about 3, 4 hours ago. I was trying to get a shower. I mean, I was already soaking wet and trying to. We bought a quarter of a cow and so
Oh.
we've got some meat coming tomorrow. And I thought this is a great time to clean out the freezer and do some garage cleaning. And holy smokes, it was an inferno in there. So
Where
we're
where do you live yourself?
So I live about 45 minutes south of Nashville. You've got
Okay.
Nashville, kind of Brentwood area, then Cool Springs and Franklin, then Columbia. And we're like I say, we're down on I-65 south of Nashville, and we've got a few acres out in the country, and I've got a few deer in the yard right now, just right before I went in here. So that's always a good sign. But
Oh
but
yeah.
yeah, man. So yeah, it's hot and humid.
Absolutely, man. I'm down here in North Texas, so I know I know the feeling. I feel like our area is hot and humid, and then man, I went down for work. I guess last week I was down the Houston area for a few days,
Oh
and
yeah.
man, it made what I have up here feel very comfortable. It was
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah. I lived in Waco for a couple of years, so that's been 20 some odd years ago. And I remember I thought the same thing. I would do some cardio and what have you, and I went down to Houston, and same way. I was like, holy cow! I mean, it was just you know just terrible. And not only that, I think the first time I ever went to Houston, it was right before Father's Day. So I was going to get my dad a Father's Day gift, card. And I stopped the car. I had some buddies with me, and we go into the mall. I can't remember which mall it was, and I go in the mall. I come out. My car was stolen. So
Oh no.
I had been in Houston for maybe 20 minutes, and yeah,
Oh
so that was
wow.
yeah, that was a rough few days.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's the that's like the stereotype story right there for
Yeah, yeah, they
Houston.
got it all on tape, and I watched the whole thing go down. And I mean, in 3.5 minutes, they were in. They watched me to go into the mall, I guess, and you can see that, and they just make a beeline and broke in and took it. But
Oh man.
yeah, so that was my experience with Houston. So
Oh man. That sucks, man. Well,
yeah,
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 I don't know if I've ever started a podcast talking about stolen cars in Houston, but check that one off the list.
yeah. They had a good time with it. I mean, I won't go into details, but I guess they wanted the car to be found, and they did all kinds of terrible. I mean, it was a lot of stuff to the inside and out,
Mm.
and yeah, yeah. I was actually headed to at the time I think Mitsubishi Montero Sports were kind of popular. I thought, man, I want to get one of those, and no joke, I was headed out to go to a dealership to go look at those, and all of a sudden I get a call from some police officer, and he said, I think we found your car. I'm like, oh man. And by this time I didn't want to so
Yeah, you
yeah.
already had your mind
Oh, I had,
set.
because it had so much damage to it, and you name it, from inside and out. So yeah, but yeah, that was a nice fiasco to go through. So
Yeah, that's always a fun ordeal for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I want to give you the chance to kind of introduce yourself and tell us where your journey as just a hunter and a bow hunter specifically began. I will preface that by telling our listeners we're live on YouTube with this one. If you guys are tuning in to the live show, feel free to ask questions or whatever in the chat. We will be monitoring that. But Chad, where did it start for you? How'd you get into bow hunting?
Yeah. So, man, I started when I was, I guess I was probably around 10 or 11. And back then, the Pearson bows were kind of popular, Bear, and there was a brand called Point Blank. I don't even know who made Point Blank, and if they're I don't even think they're still around. But yeah, that my first bow was actually a Pearson, and then back then, you draw it, and the arrow would just do a rainbow. I mean, even if
You got to lob it in there.
yeah, it was just, I mean, I'm sure that I missed so many deer back then from deer jumping the string, but yeah, but yeah, so went and finally went from this Pearson to a point blank bow, and man, I just had some success on the family farm, and just I got eaten up with it, and so that I'll say that lasted for a few years, and then I kind of I kind of shifted gears a little bit. I mean, I've always been a big into hunting. I used to trap. Dad would take me in the mornings at around 4 o'clock in the morning on school days, and Dad, he was a principal at a elementary school, so I'd usually drive to school with him to work. But we'd go and run trap lines in the morning and all that good stuff beforehand, and we did all that. So I was big into it, but I kind of really believe it. I got kind of shifted into a different sport where I got into bodybuilding. Um, Around age 13, I was second smallest kid in school. Got picked on a lot. The typical story. I guess you can. A lot of guys go through that, and
Yeah.
started working out, and was very blessed to have, won a number of shows back then, and what have you, and titles, and but then I kind of tie all this together. Went from that to actually, it's crazy because I've got ADD. So you mentioned North Texas, and I used to own a fitness center, and just south of Nashville, personal training center. I used to travel with country music, stars, all this stuff, all around the country and what have you. Well, ended up I was in North Texas, close to Denton, and I can't
Yeah.
remember the exact area there. And there was a huge ranch. I mean, this thing was just massive. Um, and Ended up one of my old clients had talked to me. She lost 136 pounds when I worked with her. She dropped a lot of
Wow.
weight. Like, I don't know how I can thank you, but one day I just want to. I'm gonna introduce you to your wife one day. Well, I was at that ranch for a couple of months or so, and she called me. It's like, you got to meet somebody. Long story short, it ended up being my wife, and met her. And I guess where I was going with this, because for a while, between the bodybuilding and the dating scene, I kind of guess I went from chasing four-legged deer to two-legged deer. And because I mean, it was what it was. And so when I met my wife, um, I mean, I mean, I went basically that allowed me to hone everything straight back into deer hunting, because I'm not, and when I say I do, I mean it. And I'm not going to be out there looking at other women and what have you. So that allowed me to really, because I've got this addictive personality, massively addictive personality, and so I got back into archery again. And she tells me I false advertised because I really I hunted, but not that much, was dating her. And but man, I got into it, and really, so this was I took a job with a company that I work with full time, and I got transferred down to Florida, and archery in Florida is it's huge. I mean, at least around Jacksonville, which is where I was. So got into it to a point where I had, between the bow press, everything. I learned every single thing about every bow. I was going through bows, honest to goodness, probably one bow a month or two.
Oh,
I'd buy
wow.
buy, sell, because I just wanted to learn everything about them. And so that got me back into it again. And then I had a chance to, I went up, well, so I'm trying to tie all this together, but
No,
once
you're
I
good.
once all that occurred, so I'm in clinical diagnostic sales full time. So I work with hospitals and labs and what have you. And then I own BOWADX and NeuroAddicts. We can talk about that. But I driving around, um, I kept hearing this commercial about all these guys who started something in their garages and you know how they made this, you know, like Bill Gates and Jobs, Steve Jobs, all these different ones. And I know nothing about IT stuff, so I know that I knew that wasn't going to be something I could do. But um, I came up with the idea of archery apparel, and back then the shirts were extremely busy. You had the Affliction brand, and I mean nothing against it, but you know a lot of flames and a lot of stuff, a lot of things going on. And I was
Yeah.
always being in the fitness. I was kind of an Under Armour guy, you know, and I thought I felt like there was a gap in the market for a real clean, more sleek look, you know, just more of a kind of Under Armour feel.
Yeah.
And so I thought, man, you know, I think I can do that. And I decided to um, take a chance and well, I came up with the name. The name was originally BOWADDICTS, and we even had logos and everything for that. And I was like, it's just a little too much, too long of a word. And then a year later, is where I was sitting in the same tree where I came up with the Bow Addicts, and then that's where I came up with the ADX. So the Bow, you know, the Bow ADX for Bow Addicts, and just like man, I just felt good about it, and end up going. The Mark Danker created the logo for Major League Bow Hunter, and back then, you know, I don't know if you
Hmm.
know that was when you had Chipper and Jeff Danker and oh Matt, I think it that man's my
Oh man,
it's been so long now.
I should know this too.
Matt Duff, I think I believe is it. So Mark that designed their logo. I reached out to him and he worked you know with me and he designed our logo and what have you and felt good about it. Anyhow, we launched it and man, that of course between that and bow hunting, I got into bow hunting deeper and honestly to advertise and what have you for bow addicts, I was giving it everything I could in the woods, obviously trying to you know establish a name, establish a presence in the industry. And I didn't want guys to think you know there's some guy here that started this brand and he knows nothing about deer hunting. So I wanted to kind of I hate to
Right.
say it, prove myself.
Yeah,
Uh,
authenticity to it. Yeah.
yeah, and so I've been real blessed over the years. Um, just on the hunting side, you know, I've taken I don't know how many Pope and young deer. You know, I've taken a lot of 150, 160s and what have you, and some lots of 140. But you know, just been blessed. And now the older I get, that's a little bit harder because with family and what have you. You know, it's hard to hunt because of you know the kids and everything and all they have going on, and then the cost of everything has just skyrocketed,
Oh
and
yeah.
you know, it's hard. Um, I try to do a lot of public hunting, but if I get a chance to do private, you know, I'm doing that too because it's just easier trying to. But yeah, man. So I've I've been real fortunate over the years to take some really solid deer um, but that has kind of helped to springboard the bow addict side too, because that we started in the garage, and you know I didn't know anything about about that apparel as far as how to market it and all this good stuff, and you know we've sold every state in the U.S. and it's like I think 32 countries now, so
Wow.
been real blessed with that business. So
That's awesome, man. So what was it like going from because you start in the garage, this thing starts taking off a little bit, and then what did that next step look like, and what was it like kind of pulling the trigger on that? Because I know as a what I would consider a small business owner in the hunting industry, it's like when you are trying to take it from a hobby to a business, kind of there's a you kind of got to walk out on a limb a little bit with that. So what was
yeah.
that like for you?
So when we launched the company, it was in 2013, November of 2013, I think it was. So uh, things were quite a bit different. You didn't have Instagram, you didn't have, maybe you had Facebook, or I know there was, I guess maybe my, whatever it was. I guess yeah, I think there was Facebook.
Yeah.
Um, but everything was different. So back then, a lot of what we did, it was a lot of shows, going to a lot of shows, consumer shows, and those really helped to spread the word pretty quick. Archery Talk, which is a forum.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I'm
I would
well
get on
familiar.
there. Yeah, yeah. I spend way too much time on that forum. But I was trying to get on different forums, anything I could to create footprints, I guess footprints, because a lot of that was either on the internet, and through Facebook, or these different forums, and going out and doing as many shows as possible. We were able to get a few retail outlets to carry our products,
Nice.
uh, that really helped too. Lancaster Archery carried us for a number of years, um, and so that really helped too. Because I think they serviced like maybe 2,500 stores. I forget, but they so that really helped to get our name out there. A lot of it was uh, well, I'll say Facebook back then, the algorithm was so different. I mean,
Oh yeah. Oh
you
yeah.
yeah, you could have which we have maybe around 1,000, 1,500 followers back then, but you can make a post, but your post it might get 40,000, 50,000 views. Whereas now, you could have, 20,000 followers and get 500 views. It's just
Hmm.
so it is real challenging now to see the growth, believe, and then people are like, "Oh, how is that? How is that?" But I really think it was easier to grow businesses back then than it is now, uh, organically. And what I mean by that is without having to pay money. Because now,
Yeah.
if you're a business, you got to pay to play, and it's always, you got to boost a post, boost a post, and because if you don't,
Yeah.
no one's going to see it.
Oh yeah, you're paying to run ads. You're having to work all those algorithms just right, it seems like. And then you're dealing with just all of the fake followers, the bots and all that other stuff out there, the copycats. And then like you mentioned, just it being more challenging, it's also so much more saturated now because everybody and their dog has an Instagram page about hunting and they're trying to do something with it. And no disrespect to that. Like, I mean, I want people getting out there and sharing their experiences with the outdoors, but for guys who are trying to take it to the next level, it just adds another layer that they have to work through, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of funny you mentioned that. I mean, to be brutally honest, like I, I don't get on Instagram. If I get on Instagram, I make a post and I'm off in 2 minutes a lot of times. I don't even, I rarely, I think what has happened, and I've had so many discussions with guys in the industry, and just your average just hunters, and the common theme I've heard is just burnout, to where
Yeah.
there's so much content. And not only that, now you got the TikTok, you got the young kids doing Snapchat, the YouTube, and like my wife, she makes her living off of YouTube. She's got a YouTube channel, and she's into cosmetics and what have you. But even that, the YouTube, trying to get new subscribers and followers on YouTube is vastly different than what it was a couple of years. And I think that all has to do with, there are so many ways to visually see and watch people do their thing or whatever it is, that it's just so many, all of a sudden that pie gets, there's all these pieces. And with her, even now, because it's like everybody wants to do TikTok, and then all of a sudden you got one person thinking, okay, I got to do TikTok, I got to do Instagram, I got to do Facebook, I got to do YouTube, Snapchat, all these different things. And then you're like, oh man, it just gets too overwhelming. So it is really, it has changed so much in the last 10 years. I mean, it's really
Hmm.
mind-boggling from what we grew up with, at least what I did,
Yeah.
so
No, I mean our brand or our company, I mean that's what we do is hunting and outdoor media. And even then I would I'm hesitant to tell people I'm an expert at it because I feel like I'm constantly having to learn something new about it, right?
yeah.
But I mean our platform was around 10 years ago. I wish I was as intentional with it back then as I was now, because we probably could have made a bigger splash if we had been doing what we're doing now 10 years ago. But I mean, you live and learn and grow with that. But yeah, it's constant. I mean, we're on all the different platforms, and it's like, all right, when we put this on TikTok, I gotta use these tags and I gotta do it this
Yeah,
way, or especially with TikTok. And I mean, I'm not telling hunters anything they don't know, but I've had to, like, on a edit or a reel, I've had to make the YouTube version and like the Instagram, Facebook version, and then the TikTok version, because the version I want to make for everybody has a dead animal in it or something like that. And
yeah.
but I have to take that one clip and substitute with something else for the version for TikTok sometimes. I've done that before, just to, it's just, you're right. It's constant work with trying to navigate all these different platforms. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is. It's gotten real challenging, and I hate to say it, I've had burnout, but I mean it's just the honest
oh, I
truth.
have too.
I used to. So I'm big into photography, and I've been real fortunate to work with a lot of different companies on the photography side, but even that, it was easier. It was easier to go out and spend an afternoon taking photos and doing a post and you make a post. I mean, this sounds bad, but it's the truth. But it was a lot easier. Let's say you make a post and you get 300-400 likes or whatever. Back then get 1,000 likes, and all of a sudden with the new algorithm, you get 40 likes or 50, and you start saying, okay, is it worth my time
Yep.
to go out and do that? And that's kind of where I've gotten. And I'm almost 50, so the older I get, it's like, well, what's most important for me right now is my family, and so we you know we still push hard. I would probably say not as hard as we did at one time, because I've realized that I can do a lot of posts, but if, let's say, if we're on the BOWADX side, but if I get a couple of our real strong posts and just boost those consistently, that seems to drive more traffic in than trying to do, let's say a post every day, every other day, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's just because it seems like the only people that see that post are those people who engage with you consistently, your
Hmm.
followers, and it's a small fragment of those. So, again, it's just made it real challenging. And I just think that people, they've got so much coming at them all at once. There's so much hunting. If you follow hunting, you've on your search page, everything on the it's just hunting, hunting, hunting. And pretty soon it's like, oh man, I just so yeah, it's just a different industry. And I'll even tie this into it. Like when I hunt public, I mean, it is so challenging now. I'm not saying it's challenging to find spots, but the challenge now is when you hunt public, everybody, they've got access to whatever, I use Onyx, HuntWise, different ones, but they can see the same thing. And most of the time, those good spots, they stick out like a sore thumb, a lot of
Yeah.
times. And I can't tell you how many times now, I mean, I don't blame the guys. They're there for the same reason I am. But you go and like, oh man, this has got to be a honey hole. Then all of a sudden you get there's trail cameras there and there, and there's all these
You're-
spots. So that even things like that, it's made public hunting challenging because, um, I mean, I know I went to hunt Illinois last year and the year before, and I mean, and I got to the point where instead of me walking way back in there, I'm talking, a mile back, mile and a half, and 9 times out of 10, I've already seen that people are, because they saw the same spot that I shouldn't even say this, but I mean, I get to where I look really close to the road. I mean, there's a lot of spots
hey,
where
yeah.
people miss. So I will purposely look for areas. I'm like, it's probably not the best area, but because sometimes people, they just walk right past it, and so I've had more success, seriously, really close to roads. I'm talking sometimes 40 yards from a main road, and I've killed some of my biggest bucks off of
Well,
little,
yeah.
you know, because that's what
That
people, they just drive on by thinking I can't be any, there can't be anything in there. So,
Yeah,
I
well, that and pressure. If you get all these hunters that see on Onyx or wherever that spot, oh, that looks like a good spot, and they're diving deep into those woods, right? That's pressure deep inside those woods, right? So it's gonna,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, that's
And
just
no, I shouldn't even say this.
science.
There are things like if I know where I think the pressure is coming from, I strategically get on the other side because I know they're going to push them. You know, they're going to push. So if I can be on the recipient end of where those guys are pushing those deer, so because a lot of times you can see those transit areas, because most likely, you know, if this is where it's at, you're going to have to get there from either here, here, here,
Hmm.
and so I will I will a lot of times try to get you know to where I think those deer, if they're going to be pushed out, where that's going to be. And sometimes those spots may not look the best, but like I say, I've had a lot of success. So I would say my best success has been in areas of 3 to 7 acres,
Yeah.
little spots that I find. And I find a lot of these big bucks, man, they like to be, you know, reclusive, you know, and they're just like they like to be by themselves. If I can find little spots where they're not going to be hit hard by a lot of either hunters or a lot of doe. I mean, it depends. Obviously, during the rut, that's a different
Hmm.
story. But if
Oh
I'm
yeah.
not during the rut, I'm kind of looking for areas where I think that buck's, you know, going. He's kind of solitary type areas, I guess you'd say. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So public land hunting for you, is that mostly in Tennessee, or I think you mentioned Illinois is what I caught
Yeah.
earlier,
So,
but
I mean, I've hunted public in a number of different states. Uh, Missouri. Um, well, I was going to hunt public in Iowa this past year, and I got, you know, I got fortunate that I was able to hunt with a gentleman who lives there. So, you know, he had about 300 and some odd acres, so I was able to hunt
awesome.
there. That worked out well. But I had some good looking spots on public. I'm not going to lie. I was had the weather was so bad when we got there. It was either hot, it rained probably 80% of the time.
Mm,
Between that, it was just terrible, you know, just
yeah,
not what I expected. So that kind of I was like, I'm just going to keep, you know, staying where I'm at. But Illinois, you know, Illinois, um, and I enjoyed that. There's some pretty good hunting pub. You know, I mean, there's good public everywhere. Tennessee, yeah, I've got a spot that's probably 25 or 30 minutes from my house. I was on a fantastic buck 2 years ago, I guess it was maybe three that I was hunting. I mean, for Tennessee, he was just a fantastic deer. And man, I spent my whole once I got him on camera, I spent my whole season on that one buck. I mean, and
mm,
I had other good deer, but I was like, I said, man, and long story short, but opening day of gun season, I chose not to hunt, and I found one faint trail, and I had cameras out everywhere, and I finally, you know, I got his patterns, and I'd get one picture, and I had it all mapped out, and then I thought, man, I think I know where he's going, and so I found this one. There's a steep cliff, there's a river, kind of a creek area down below, probably 40, 50 foot drop. And I said, man, I really think he's worked that edge going. And I thought I saw where some bedding was that was off this public. And I found a faint trail. I mean, super faint, which usually I that's a lot of times that's where I equate the buck trails. You know, a lot of those they're not like the doe trails sometimes, but
yeah,
man, I put a camera out there, and that was the day before gun season, and had the tree picked out and everything, and I thought, it's opening day of gun on public. I'm going to go hunt my private, and I got him in my stand, hunt private. And man, I tell you, I'd already hunted this deer hard, and I'm up there, and it was 9:03. My phone dings, and there he was, like right, you know. I'm like, no. So man, I get out of the tree, and I'm trying to get in there. Because I thought he's going to be in that area. Well, so I'll just say I hunted that deer for another 3 weeks hard.
oh
Didn't
wow,
see, and there's a local co-op here. It's like a feed store, and I'll go in there and talk to with the guy. It's one of the head guys for the co-op, and I was like, man, how's your season going? He said, I'm done now. And I said, what for? He said, man, someone took my target buck. I've been hunting this great buck. I said, really? He said, whereabouts are you? You know, you hunting? He said, well, it's right next to so and so. I don't want to say the public, right next to, you know, this area. I said, really? He said, yeah, yeah. And I said, what part? When he told me, I said, wait a second. And I said, are you down by this creek? He said, yeah, I'm on the other side. I said, oh no, man. And I said, can you show me a picture of the deer? And he showed me, and I pulled my phone out. He said, yeah. He said, but the deer was taken. Either somebody had already saw where I had got, had everything. And I think either somebody was sitting in the tree that I was going to hunt, or within probably 10 yards. When he put his finger on that map where the deer was shot, it was within 15 yards of the tree that I
Oh, wow.
and I just sat there, but I hunted that same buck for, I'd say for 3 weeks. And he was already dead. I didn't know it. But again, man, I know that these aerial, you get a good hunting app and people can go in there and see this, and they can, and a lot of times that's just luck. I mean, I don't know if that guy had put as much time as I did into it, but it's the right place at the right time. But I, I enjoy the public. I hunt more public now than I used to. I got drawn for Kansas this year, so I'm trying to
Nice.
decide. I hope to I hope to hunt public. I've got a connection for some private, so we'll see down there. I've honestly in the next 2 days, my game plan was to, if I get a shot at that private, I'm still going to try to, on the way there, pick out some public spots to check out.
Yeah.
But that'll be possibly Kansas this year. Next year, probably Missouri. I hunt Missouri quite a bit. And I used to have a lease in Missouri, and no kidding, my favorite spot hunting that lease was next to public,
Mm.
and the best deer, the majority of the mature bucks came off the public, mature,
Wow.
and so knowing where that is, I'm like, I'll just go and hunt that area. Because I know the bucks use that area. So yeah. There's some great hunting in public. It's just trying to get into where no one else is hunting, and
Oh,
so
yeah. No,
yeah,
I'm fortunate enough to have a large piece of private here in Texas that we get to hunt. And I say it like it's a bad thing. It's not. I don't have to tackle public land as religiously or as frequently, right? Here in
yeah,
Texas, which
yeah,
it kind of sounds like a similar deal. With anything, you get what you put into it. But, just at the surface level or driving out there on opening weekend of archery or rifle, it looks like a war zone out there with all the cars and pickup trucks parked, guys going
yeah,
in there and hunting. And that's for somebody that is just starting out or hadn't put the time in yet, that can be a little intimidating or a little discouraging. So, and like I
yeah,
said, we're fortunate to have a great piece of private to mess with, and that gives me plenty of work and drives me crazy as it is trying to figure the deer out on that place. But
yeah. Well,
yeah,
I know a lot of guys who put down guys who hunt private. I mean, I've had guys say things to me like, "Man, you are, you don't have a clue. You don't hunt." I'm like, I just, I guess I don't understand that. I mean, if I got a chance to hunt private, I'm going to hunt private. And it's only honestly it's a safety factor too, because I mean, some of the things I've seen in public have driven me nuts. And the fact too, um, last year, for instance, I was on this track in Tennessee, and I saw a couple bucks, probably mid 140, 150 range, which is solid deer in Tennessee. And I'm getting out there, I found an area where some of the corn had been cut, portions of it hadn't, um, and so I'm getting out there like at 2 o'clock, getting set up early, and I mean it's we're put it this way, if I'm pull up somewhere, especially if I'm running late, and if I see a car in an area and I know there's a good chance he's around there somewhere, I'm not gonna if it gets dark at 5:30, I'm not gonna walk in there at 4:30. I don't want to bust I don't want to mess another guy's hunt up. But
yeah,
th- this guy comes, and it's literally 30 minutes before dark. And I'm hearing these deer and wood, they're running everywhere. I didn't even see, I guess they were, and he's coming, and I'm like, doing this number, and he's like, oh, so he goes back. The next thing, he walks all the way across the field, about 80 yards down. Across the whole field. 'Cause I didn't see a single deer that night. But you get things like that, man.
yeah,
And I hate to say knucklehead, but I mean, you got to be a knucklehead not to, if you don't have enough sense to have a respect for somebody. Because if I see it, I mean, even that spot, this is no joke. The day before, I was going to get there, and I was about 30 minutes late. I pulled up and there was a car there. I said, nope, I'm not going to hunt that. You know, I'm not. And there's areas I know where, I know they could be guys could be anywhere, but in this spot, you just knew most likely someone's going to be right over in here or there. But it's things like that where, if I don't have to deal with that, I'd much rather not have to deal with it.
Oh
Where
yeah.
where you've gone in, gotten there extra early, did everything, then all of a sudden it's 8:30 in the morning, 9 o'clock, and which I've had this happen plenty of times in Kentucky on public, and this guy's walking right on in there, and just making all kinds of noise. And it's like, oh man,
Come on, man. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they both have their blessings and their curses, I feel like. And um I don't care for anybody ragging on each other for either reason on either side of the fence. Because I mean, I've had people look down on me as a private land hunter, guys who went public, like, oh, you're out there just sitting over your down in Texas, sitting over your feeder, waiting for your big buck to come in. It's like, no, there's a whole lot more work that goes into it than that. And likewise, I don't want to rag on him for not having a private piece and just, I honestly think, and this is because I know a lot of public land hunters that I have mad respect for. I think that they're better woodsmen than I am. I honestly think that because it's so much easier for me on private once you learn a property, learn an area, learn what the deer are doing to kind of just get in that autopilot mode and become more complacent. Whereas on public, you're constantly paying attention to every little detail that's going to give you the edge or give you the advantage. And so I 100% think that public land hunters have an advantage as far as just being a better woodsman. And I've been on the most public I've hunted has actually not been in Texas. It's been out west, like, Colorado, Idaho, Montana, um, hunting critters out there. And just the amount, in comparison to the amount of time I spend whitetail hunting in Texas, I'm like, man, that is not a lot of time. But from start to finish and before and after that hunt, I'm like a sponge, just
yeah,
soaking up information and everything, to prepare for and then execute that hunt. And it's invaluable, in my opinion. It makes anybody a better hunter being on a public land DIY type hunt will make
yeah,
anybody better.
yeah, yeah, 100%. And I tell you what's hurt me is, like I say, I've been so blessed over the years to taking so many good deer that, I've had buddies that I've hunted with. They're seeing deer I passed up. Like, man, why in the world did you pass up that deer? I'm like, well, I just, I've just, and I hate, man. There's good about that, and there's bad. Because there's like in Kentucky, there's Fort Campbell. If anyone knows about that area, it is just if I could hunt any, I don't say this either, but it's a good area. But it's challenging, and it's one of those areas like even going to Iowa. When I first went to Iowa, I mean, everybody, you think there's a booner around every tree. I mean, it's just that's what you just hear all and see all these stories, and
Yeah, see the
you get
hunting
up there,
shows and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and you get up there and you realize, unless you're real lucky, it's not like that.
Yeah.
And 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 um and so I sometimes I even get mad at myself because let's say if I'm hunting public and I pass up a deer that he's a good deer, but I'm let's say I'm trying to hunt for 5.5, 4.5, or whatever, and I'm not to say much about rack, but I usually hunt maturity,
Hmm.
um, but I can tell you this: like, if I've got a 7-day hunt, by day 5 or 6, I mean, if that buck I passed up on day 1 or 2, if he's a solid, if he comes through, I'm most likely gonna. I don't hate to waste my tag, and I want the meat and what have you too. But yeah, it's just everything's changed because, like you mentioned, the feed. Well, in Tennessee now they passed a law where if you pay, I think it's $50, you can now feed on your property, which is this is the first time in history,
Hmm.
that allowed that. And the guys, there's some guys like, oh, and then you're gonna be hunting over bait. This, I'm like, man. I mean, first of all, don't. To me, if anybody's hunting, man, I'm happy for them. And even with the putting out corn, to me that allows me to pull more deer in there that I can see. I can manage those deer. I can see what I've got on camera. Hopefully, I can get them off the neighbor's property. It doesn't mean I'm going to go in there and shoot whatever. And I can tell you right now, in Kentucky, you can put out corn. I've put out tons of corn, but in Kentucky, once they shed, those bucks, most of them within a week after shedding, they could care less
Yep.
about the corn piles. Now you can catch them in some cornfields late season, what have you,
Hmm.
but those that corn, man, they're different animals, and I mean, I've 200 pounds of corn just go bad. Like, what in the world? They just don't touch it, I mean, they'll hit a few days after shedding, but so it's not. I don't know. I just I get honestly get irritated when I see people put down other hunters that, again, I'm just glad they're out there, man. I'm glad anybody, whatever, I don't care what they use. If it's I mainly hunt bow, but I'm just happy that someone's out there as long as they're doing it ethically.
Yeah.
They're trying to take an animal ethically. They're eating the meat, or maybe they're giving it to whatever different organizations for food. That I'm all about it. If they're practicing good, game, land management, what have you. But it is sad that the sport. I mean, even on Instagram and things and stuff. I mean, I've had so much hate.
Oh yeah, it's
It's
everywhere.
terrible. I mean, I've had some stuff that just like, what in the world are these people? Who has that much hatred in their heart?
Yeah. Now
But
I mean, it's all out there and it comes from both the anti-hunting side and we eat our own a lot. It's like,
yeah,
man,
man.
we're all out here doing the same thing and I completely agree with everything you just said. As long as you're out there and hunting. I don't know what your situation is. If you shot a 3-year-old whitetail and you're tickled to death about it, for all I know, that might be the biggest buck you've ever killed in your life. Right?
Yeah,
I'm happy for you, man. I'm happy for you. And I mean, we run feeders down here and everything, but it's funny how similar it is just hearing you talk about, your experience with corn and what those bucks do, because same deal. Once they start losing that velvet, they turn to different animals. And like you could sit and I have been stuck in my ways in the past and done it where you're just sitting on a feeder all season long.
yeah,
And yeah, I get does and young bucks that come in,
right,
but I have to hunt different if I want to kill a big deer. That
yeah,
like that's one thing that especially this property we have right now has definitely helped educate me on is I mean, you might get lucky, like you said, but if it's during the season, then you're gonna have to put in the work to get a bigger deer. And on top of that, just down here, we don't get hit hard with like bad freezes or winter until like late January, February, which the season's already over at that point. So we honestly never really see those bucks switch back into that kind of survival mode post rut where they're trying to put some weight back on and they are hitting the food sources that we have out there the corn and that kind of stuff.
yeah,
um that's always after the season that the cameras start showing that because
yeah,
just it
yeah.
doesn't get cold enough down here quick enough, so
Well, see, that's the problem. Even like we as a kid, we always if we took bucks, let's say mid late season, we let they would hang 8, 10 days, something like that. We let those bucks hang, deer, does, whatever, and it just does not stay cold. I mean, I
mm-mm.
talked to my wife the other day about when I was a kid or when I was in high school, the homecomings, like in late October or November. I mean, it was freezing. I mean, everybody, you just freezing to death. And now it's like people they're in short sleeve shirts, and so that it has made it challenging the last several years. I mean, I seriously, I can't remember a true like when I hunted Iowa this year. I had one day, and I was about to head home, and it never got below 33 at all. It one day it hit 33. Besides that, it was in
Wow.
the 80s when I first got there, and this is in mid November, and and I but that one day, man, they just broke loose for about 8 hours, 12 hours, and but when you, I can like I can remember hunting Kentucky, and the ruts were phenomenal. I mean, just insane. And all of a sudden, it's like someone swept a light switch, and the heat.
Yeah.
You didn't get that cool weather, and people are like, well, they're going to rut no matter what. But it's cool. I don't care what anybody says. The right weather, it's going to get them off their feet and doing their thing. And so I, but that's things like that have made it challenging. And
Yeah.
even if you're hunting public, you get in the right spot. If you got the deer movement, and you can, if you can, I call it a common denominator instead of denominator, because which is what I did in Iowa. I kept working and working in the one area, and I kept seeing, okay, they're kind of playing chess with them to really figure out exactly where the vast majority, what was going to give me the most chances of getting a deer. And so, but it took a while on this property. But like you said, if you got your own property, well, you can do it in public. But I will say, if you've got good deer activity, along with that if you're in the right spot with good at deer activity, I mean, that makes all the difference in the world. But yeah, it's public is just it's just gotten tough, and I think because the cost of leasing has gone up so much that the average guy, I mean, I can remember back in the day, you could lease ground $4 to $6 an acre, and now it's
Mhm.
25, 30, 35, $40 an acre. It's like, goodness gracious. I mean, you can't. So that's pushed so many guys to public, because they have no other choice unless they've got, a family farm or something like that. So, um, but which has happened to me. My best spots where I've taken so many of my deer. I lost that farm. Some guys, I think, from play for the Redskins or whatever. The big man. So basically, I either got hit with Major League Baseball players, and nothing against those, or the NFL guys that were leasing ground on there, and I couldn't match what.
Yeah.
So you lose that ground. So it kind of pushed me to public, but I have all the respect for the guys who do it. It's just,
Oh
you get
yeah.
older. I'll be 50 in this coming February, and man, I tell you, the older you get, it's you start asking yourself, man, you're like, oh man, I've just walked a mile and a half back in here. I got camera gear and all this stuff. You're sweating bullets and whatever wrong. If you're going to drop something, you name it, and uh, and then you start asking yourself, it's like, oh man, is it worth it? So yeah, but I have changed my. I have gotten to where I don't go as deep as I used to, unless I'll check it out. But if I can hunt closer, and I still feel like I've got some good opportunities there, I'll do that. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Man, sometimes that's all it takes. We on our place, which is private, like I mentioned earlier, but um we a couple years ago we put in a stand. We call it the camp stand because the whole property is 807 acres, and it's like this big long rectangle. So by the way that the crow flies, like you camps on one corner and you could be hunting, a mile and a half, 2 miles from camp potentially, way back in there. We ended up putting a stand like 250, 300 yards from camp because we just kept seeing all these deer. Every time we'd come and leave, there'd be deer running across the road. And that's one of the hottest spots on the property.
yeah,
Just
man.
right around the corner, man. Like bucks, does, all of it. My dad,
Well,
he tells the story from, back when he was growing up and hunting whitetail in South Carolina. He was part of a hunt club out there, and he talks about this one old timer that would take a lawn chair and sit out on the main road by the gate in his flannel, and he'd shoot more deer on that place than anybody else.
yeah, yeah. I don't know what it is, man. I think bucks understand that, and I like the deer out. So in my yard, I have kind of a flat yard where I shoot my bow a lot, and most nights when I shoot my bow, these deer will be 30 yards from a bow target. They just watch me, and here last year, mom and two little ones were out there, and I was shooting, and they kept watching me, and I thought, I'm going to see how close I can get to these deer. I got within 15 yards of those
Oh
deer.
wow.
Then about 2 3 nights later, I was starting to work on their food plots, and I don't really hunt there, but and I would if the right right buck came in, but I was working on plots, and I just got through doing some disking and everything, and so I was going to go in and seed it, and I'm out there with a seed, and they come within probably 12 yards from me. Like they get so used to it, but I do think these deer, I mean, they just know, even if there's human activity, I just think they know they're safe in certain areas, and But yeah, man, like I say, I've had so much success just hunting closer, and I don't. I guess part of it's being lazy, but I don't know. I just if I
There,
see good
there,
sign in there, if there's good sign and I see what I'm looking for, I'm like I'm going to give it a shot. So
yeah, there's something to it for sure. I
yeah,
believe that.
yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna shift gears a little bit, because I could sit here and talk hunting with you all night long, quite literally. But I want to know about Euro addicts and where that started for you. I hate to hurry the conversation
Yeah,
along,
oh, man,
but
I'm
my
glad you brought it up.
time's
I'm
flying by. So
Yeah, I'm gonna show you too. Well, first of all, let me grab a box here. I've got one here on the floor. I'm gonna be shipping this one out. I QC everything before it goes out too. I mean,
awesome.
I go through and check everything out. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of this is our UX1. Um, this is the wall system, and it comes. I don't know if you can see that too. It comes
Yeah.
in your directions, um, everything you need, and then I'll show you the unit here. What it kind of looks like. So the cool thing is about this here, and so I now explain why I came up with it. Well, I say first of all, the way I came up with it was I've got other mounting systems, Euro mounting systems, and but I had a couple of bucks that were pretty wide, and I would just had an issue with them. If I turn them too much, they hit the wall, and I was like, oh man, I wish I had something that would go a little further away from the wall. And so I started kind of prototyping some things here, and I was like, holy cow, that rack looks so much better if it's kind of away from the wall a little bit. So so that's kind of how it started. And so I don't know if you can see that. This right here,
Yeah.
this is like a mounting plate here. Now I will say I realized I just took this one off before we got on the podcast. We have a half moon cut here. I don't know if you can see that, but
Mhm.
the ones that come with them now, the half moon is on the bottom. And the reason I
Okay.
have that is so let's say you put this on the wall. Now this is the female side. This goes on the wall. Okay. And see that little U slot right there?
Hmm.
And I got this loose purposely, but this right here is going to slide in there just like that. I don't know if you can
Oh
see how
wow.
that fit in there. So it's real modular,
Yeah.
and um, and this allows you to just to focus on this, put it on there. But I knew, let's say someone's putting this on there and they get this bottom screw not exactly right. Well, and it's like that. I wanted to allow them to be able to turn this, rotate if need be for any fine tune adjustments. I wanted to make
Hmm.
sure I covered every base, anything I could to make sure the customer is going to be able to use this and have maximum flexibility with it. So that's our wall plate. Again, it's modular. This system, this piece slides into that, and the way the so this I don't, this is our telescopic arm, and I hopefully you can see that,
Hmm.
and so you can release it up, and so you can go in and out with it here,
Nice.
and you've got about anywhere from and I was two things. What because this just crossed my mind. You can take this arm off, and this front piece here will mount right here. So you've got
Oh,
anywhere from like 2 inches from the wall all the way out up to like 10 1/4 inches, I think it is. So you can get it out there quite a bit.
wow.
You got a corner area in the corner or something like that, or a post. You want to really turn it, but if you can see this right here, this arm, you've got 360 degrees of adjustability here.
Nice.
Multi. So you can set it here. Now, so when I designed this, Sam, I designed it to where this would mimic the neck of a whitetail because it's so expensive trying to get a deer mounted nowadays. When I was a
Oh
kid,
yeah.
I could get it done for 100 1/4. Now it's 5, 6, 800 bucks or more. So I actually a lot of times I would turn this up a little bit, just like a neck of a deer. And my favorite, I think it's called like a semi sneak. I love it where let's say I've got this arm here, and this is my right, might be your left here, but I'll turn the arm, let's say to the right, and I'll turn the head to the left and kind of angle it down. And so I usually go the opposite direction of the head as the arm. And even if the arm's straight out here, a lot of times I'll turn this arm, let's say kind of this way. It's hard to see this way, and I'll turn that head back the other direction. Because a lot of whitetail have a dominant side. Not every one. A lot of times you'll see these deer, like, oh man, I want that good side showing. And so my whole goal with this was to make sure that you could replicate any mount that you see. You can angle the arm. One of my favorite ways, you can drop this arm down and turn that head up like he's chasing a doe, got his head up, and it looks super sweet. So I'll mount deer. Let's say if I've got 8 or 10 deer on the wall, and I've got several out in our office area where I may have one kind of angled down with his head up. I've got some up and straight. I've got some straight out, and I'll have this arm maybe pushed all the way back on one, then the other one maybe it's two. I've got it 2 or 3 inches further out, then I got one way far, and it creates dimension on that wall.
Yeah,
And,
that's
and
cool.
and so if you can see the front here, this is our mounting post here for your skull to slide down on that. You can move it up and down as you see, and you probably, I don't know if there's a little hole right here, Allen screw, set screw. You
Hmm.
can even, if you need to adjust, believe it or not, people are like, well, why would you need to adjust that? I have got certain skulls. I have to have this thing slightly turned just a little bit for that skull to sit flat. Same way you can turn this um, this, if you can see this right here, because that's kind of it rotates. I've got a skull where if this is not slightly to the right just a little bit, that skull will not sit flat. So that's a good thing about that arm too. But you can adjust it any way you want to, and it's got these teeth here. This is called a Hertz joint, so it's got locking teeth. So once you lock it down, these teeth bite. And
Yeah.
I went with that instead of like a swivel joint, just because honestly, I've had heard where guys were thought that swivel joint was tight and it wasn't, and they had issues. But we do have one thing we're going to be, I've got hopefully coming here Tuesday with this nut, this locking nut here, that we might um, have a little enhancement to that. But I don't want to say much until I get it check it first. But man, it's been we've been real blessed. We've done really well with it. The feedback's been really good. We have a tabletop unit that is just, to me, I guess I'm biased, but I think it's off the charts. I mean, it's so sleek, and I don't know if you've seen it or not. You might have seen it, but the tabletop has been a huge. I've got guys with 5 or 6 of those. They just
Wow.
love them. Um, and so we're trying to work on some big game options too. Um, I, I've got a 6x6 elk on one of these, but it's a skull cap. But I had to do it differently. So for elk, because I know you guys are going to be asking about that, we've got to make the skull post a little bit longer, uh,
Hmm.
and I've got to change the diameter, the width of or I call it the U post bracket. They'll work. If it was done certain ways. But we've already got a design and everything for a
Nice.
big unit that I'm pretty excited about. But man, I came up with that again. It's really just because I just had issues. I had some deer where I had them setting and they were kind of a little wobbly, and I want to make sure that when that deer is on there, he's not going to move. And this is first generation, so if I see any changes to be made, I'm anal about that. I'll make changes. But it's been real blessed. Well, we've launched it in September, and um, I mean, right now, I'll be straight up. The biggest challenge for us right now is just getting visibility, like even through
Hmm.
Google. Because when you start a new site on Google, Google's got to do its thing and find it, and it can take 12 to 18 months really for it to be picked
Yeah.
up for your scene, no matter, unless you're paying some massive dollars. But we're trying to push that pretty hard on Instagram and through podcasts. But man, it's so it's I've been really happy with it, super happy with it. And but again, I just want it to look just like a mount,
Yeah.
and so that's why the arm, and so we got all that patent, it's patent pending and everything. So we hopefully all that will, be finalized, and
Awesome.
yeah,
Man, yeah, that's a really, really cool concept. And you hit the nail on the head with just, I mean, nothing against, taxidermy or the cost of shoulder mounts or anything like that, but it is pricey.
yeah,
I only got a couple of them in my house, and each one has been more expensive than the one before. But I do I think the Euro mounts just look clean, and that when I started checking out the page and seeing what you guys were about and what the products you guys had going on, I was like, man, that's a pretty slick design and
Appreciate
obvious that thought went into it. So
appreciate
I'm a fan. Looks good.
it. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. If anyone can check it out, it's UROADX, EuroAddicts.com. And we do sell these on BOWADX as well, so we've got them on there. I did that too, honestly, because we've had BOWADX for so long that it pops up usually on that first page if someone's looking for bow hunting t-shirts, so they can get on there and see the mounts too. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. And I will say this real quick. We're a faith-based company. I didn't meant to mention that with the Bow Addicts.
Hmm.
We support a lot of charities through it. Most of our t-shirts, they go on the website. They're going to see faith-based apparel. I've got two new shirts. I just haven't put it on social media yet, but I'll put one new one out. I think maybe Friday. Then I've got another one I'll probably maybe put out this week. Faith-based tees, but we call it our Shoot It Straight series. For that. But we've yeah, man, basically for every mainstream shirt, like a clean mainstream shirt we release, we'll release a basically it's like a faith-based mainstream.
Awesome.
That's kind of our bread and butter. I'm all about that, man, and trying to share the. I don't want to hit anybody in the head with the Bible, but my faith means everything to me, and to me, these shirts are just conversation starters, hopefully, to something deeper and more meaningful. And the stories people share with us about just wearing a simple shirt that opens up a conversation. Next thing you know, they're praying and one's crying and all that. They're just you know brothers just you know
Yeah. That's
speaking.
awesome.
Yeah, man. So that's where my heart is trying to be a good example, and I'm not afraid to share my love for Christ and God, what He's done for me. So because I wouldn't be, I tell people that Bow Addicts and Euro Addicts, they're God's company. I'm just an employee. That's kind of, that's how I try to run them. So
Yeah. That's an awesome mentality to have, man. Good for y'all. I
appreciate it.
love that. That's awesome.
Appreciate it. Thank
Well, the clock is winding down, unfortunately. I got a couple other quick things for you, and the first one, before I get to my closing questions, we've gone a whole podcast talking about bow addicts, Euro addicts, hunting, public land, private land, archery, and I still don't know what bow you shoot. I
you.
want to know what your archery setup
So
is.
yeah, so I shoot the prime, the new is it the no no the form. I can't
The
remember what it.
form.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I've shot prime the last 5 years, I guess.
Okay.
And man, I really love the bows. I've last year I had the new I can't maybe the RVX I think it was,
Hmm.
and I I was hunting public, and I got down. It was real late, and stepped back and stepped on my bowstring and popped it.
Oh no.
Yeah, yeah. So I had to go back to the whatever the one before that, the RevX,
The
and that's
Revix, yeah.
yeah. But man, the form shoots great. I mean, it's I've the more time I spend with it, because at first I was like, man, I don't know, the look was different.
Goofy looking a little bit
Yeah,
at first,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, and it's kind of funny. Everybody's like, "That's grown on them," but it's a shooter. I'm looking at over in the floor, but it is a um. I went out and I haven't had a chance to shoot much this year. I went out and shot I think like three at 50 yards, and I mean they were all touching it, and I thought, well, hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And I didn't even have the sight. I was just trying to get guessing where it should be. But it's man, it's a good shooting rig. It is. Um,
I'm so I trialed that. I'm shooting prime this year as well. This is
which,
my I'm shooting the Revix this year. I know
okay,
it's a year or two
okay,
older of the model, but man, we just partnered with a local shop down here in Texas, Bear River Archery, and Justin, the owner over there, awesome dude. He's a big prime guy. He carries a lot of different brands, but we I shot elite for a number of years,
I totally.
and I enjoyed my elites.
Yeah.
But this year we were changing it up, and I wanted to do something different. So went in there to the shop, shot everything he had, every brand that he had, and tried them all out. But Man, those primes, I was impressed. And I like over 10 years ago, I worked in a boat shop as a boat tech. And that was when Prime, had the two track
Everything.
cam system and all that kind of stuff. So that was the last time I had had a Prime in my hand. I hadn't really experienced the new stuff that they got going. And man, that I love that bow. I mean, there's so many good bows out there. There's so many smooth
Yeah.
shooters out there. The biggest thing for me that drew me to it was honestly the grip, though. Because
Same here.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, the
I
way
shoot.
that I hold a bow, for whatever reason, like I've shot Hoyt, Matthews, and Elite over the years, and every single one of them, I've always had to make left to right adjustments. I've had multiple people tell me, man, and it's not that visually it looks different, just how it sits in my hand. It's just got a little bit of hand torque to it. And that prime, it felt better. And paper tuning it, it's the first bow I've ever owned where I didn't have to make any left to right adjustments for the
Yeah.
paper
Same
tune.
here. That form. I seriously, yeah, I put so many together, and actually, I took the rest off of my not my RevX, but my other one or whichever one it is here, and they're all and I put it on here and I checked. I think it's gonna be dead on, and uh, bare shaft, and I mean, just perfect, perfect,
Yeah.
and same way with I ran shot through paper with the flesh and shooting really good, and but they're just I don't know why I hold them so well, and you know what's crazy for me? So I shoot a I don't always, but I've got a kicker. I call it kicker, but I've got a sidebar, on mine,
Hmm.
um, and I had to put mine on the right side. I'm a right-hand shooter, but most guys have it on the left.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I have to put mine on the right. That's the
Really?
only, yeah. If I don't, man, I have to adjust that bow. I have to get the bubble. If I get on the right side and just it's usually pretty super close. That bubble. When I get back, I can close my eyes and open it up, and it's just dead center every single time. And
Huh.
Paige Pierce was talking about she's a right-handed, I think right-handed, but she put her on the right-hand side. And I thought because I had elite too at the time, and I was like, huh. But I put that, and ever since then, I don't know my primes, man. If I run that bar on the right hand side, pretty tight, it just I don't have to worry about any movement. I mean, 9 times out of 10, when I look at that bubble, it's just dead on straight, and then that's
Huh.
what I want. Some guys want the bias, but I like it when I pull it back. I don't want to have to. If I'm in the heat of the moment, I don't want to think about anything. I just want to pull it back, and if I forget to look, at least I know I put a lot of time into it where there's a good chance that it's going to be pretty close
Yeah.
in case I forget. But yeah, man, it's kind of crazy. I don't know when I thought about that, but it just for me personally, it just even with that form, I thought, well, I don't know if it's going to need it. On the right, so it might need it on the left hand side, but it's the same way, man. I don't know. It
Huh.
may just be me. How I
That
hope.
that's interesting. I might have to do some playing around because I run a back bar on my hunting setups. Actually, this Prime is the first one in years that I have not put a back bar on it. I'm playing around with it right now
Yeah,
without it to see what I like. But I've always run on the left when I have I'm a
yeah.
right-handed shooter.
No, like I
I
say,
might I might have to mess around with that a little
yeah,
bit.
I just when I draw back, get my eyes closed, open it up, and I see where it's at. And if it's consistently on the left hand side, and I was consistently having to kind of turn this, and I thought, man, that's just I don't want to keep doing that. And
Yeah.
I on the right side, it just
Hmm.
usually it's just holds like a rock. And I had some guys like, what in the world, do you not know which side to put it on? So no, it's just trust me. I know which side to put it on.
Trust me,
But
trust me.
yeah. This is just where it needs to be for me. So yeah, it's worth the try. I tell anybody that don't fight it. So yeah,
Yeah. Man, yeah. Well, that's awesome. They make good bows for sure. And I feel like this year I've this sounds bad. I feel like I've drank all the Kool-Aid out there is to drink. I got a prime, I got a dialed sight.
ready, man.
I've gotten all the stuff that's just popular right now, and that's never been me. So I feel kind of dirty doing
But hey,
that.
you'll love that
But
RevX, man. I absolutely. That's what I hunted with last year because I owned the RVX. When I stepped on it, I could. But the Rev, I mean, they're both great. But I
oh
mean
yeah,
they're just. I shoot that bow so well, and it's
yeah,
just one of those I can pull out and just know. Yeah, I feel confident with it, and there's like you said, there's some great bows.
Yeah.
I had a buddy of mine, and he shot mine. He was shooting Matthews for a while, and I'm not shooting shot the new Matthews, but whatever. He had the newest one, and he said, "Man, I'm actually gonna try to." He was making a decision to go to prime too. So I don't know, but but I know Matthews makes some fantastic rig. They all do. And Hoyt makes that. Hoyt makes it's just I've never been able to shoot a Hoyt good that well. Now maybe the new ones I can, but I guess I've had probably 5 or 6 Hoyts,
Yeah.
and I'd always end up selling because I would shoot them next to other bows because usually I've got 2 or 3 bows, and I'm gonna shoot the one I shoot the best.
Yeah.
And back then, I remember I had like the Obsession bow, and
Yeah.
and man, that's just what I shot at the best, and that's what I used, and had a brand new Matthews and a Hoyt and that Obsession, and the one that's the Obsession is what I shot the best back. So
Yeah. No, I shot Hoyt. Same deal. I had a bunch of them over a course of time, and I had a lot of people that at the bow shop and in my life that were Hoyt shooters and kind of influenced me in that way. That's kind of why I started there, I guess. But then I switched to Matthews. Shot Matthews for a short amount of time, and then we got a deal with Elite that we had for several years and everything. So I shot Elite for the last 7 years, and yeah, also great bows, but this year
yeah,
I was
I
just
shot
like,
these
man,
a
I
long
gotta try something else. I gotta try
time.
something new.
Yeah, GT 500 back in the day, the Z28. I don't know if you ever remember those. There's
Yeah.
some. I still wish I had some of them. Man, I was like, I had the Z28, 2 or 3 of those, and I sold the last one, and I was like, I'll never sell it. Ended up selling it. Did the same way with the GT 500. Sold that one, and like, because some of those old rigs, I just like some of the old stuff, man.
Oh yeah, that man, like working in a bow shop back then, there were 4 or 5 bows from like 2 or 3 manufacturers that just every year people were still rocking them, and they'd be like, "Hey, what's new this year? What Matthews or Hoyt or whoever do this year?" And you tell them, and they're like, "Nah, I'm just gonna keep my old one." And
Yeah,
I'm like, man, that's I
yeah,
I wish I could do that. I wish I had the patience to do that
yeah,
sometimes,
yeah.
but
Yeah. I know, man. Well, I'm looking. I got new breeds over here. I've got a couple of those. I've got so many boats, and I shot new breed well. I don't know if you ever heard of new breed back in the
I
day,
have, yeah.
and I was pretty impressed, with those. And like I said, certain bows I just shoot, and that was a bow I shot pretty well. But these primes, I just man, um, and I know those guys pretty well, and they've actually bought some of our mounting systems here from us for their
Awesome.
money boost. But yeah, man, they're fantastic, fantastic bows, and I will say I went to I think it's Cooley KUKHU maybe LE whatever arrows. Started shooting those, and um, man, I'm super impressed with those. This year. They've been a pretty good arrow. I've just like I said, been shooting those. I think they're about 8 grains per inch. So
Hmm.
for whitetails, I think I'm around 405 weight with my
Okay.
arrows. And for whitetails, I don't me personally, I used to shoot heavy arrows, but I don't mind. I don't I mean the arrow I shot for years was 386 weight wise. Man, I blew through I there was only one deer and it was almost a total pass through. It just barely didn't. And but yeah, because last year I was shooting the Black Eagle Rampage, and I think I was about 430, 436. So I shaved off about 30 something. So picked us a few feet per second. But like I say, for whitetails, I don't mind that 400
Yeah.
gram.
No, I can't get away from the Easton Axis arrow shaft. I've
Oh
been
man,
shooting that for like 8 or 9 years now, and I just have
yeah,
not switched. I love them so much.
I shot
And
those for years, man.
yeah,
Uh,
I
great.
a lot of it comes down to shot placement, obviously, as you know, but I have never on a clean kill and that kind of stuff, I have never not gotten a pass through, especially on a whitetail.
Yeah,
Every arrow that I've run through a whitetail, I've gotten that arrow back. With the there's an exception of two. I had a buck 2 years ago that it made me sick to my stomach. I made a bad shot. I hit him high. He ran off with my arrow, and I never recovered that deer. I was sick to my stomach, man. And then I've had a pig run off with one of my arrows, which down
yeah,
here in Texas, that's kind of the cost of doing business at times.
Yeah,
But at the same
yeah,
time, I've run one of those shafts completely through a 300 plus pound bore and gotten a complete pass through on that. I run about a 460 grain arrow. I go a little bit
yeah,
heavier on
yeah.
that. But man, I love those shafts. I
They are
can't get
great.
away from them.
Yeah, because I ran those for a good long time, and I can't remember. So I went to the Black Eagle, and I think because I did a little work with Black Eagle at one time. Not kind of, and I think I went from the Axis to the Carnivore, and the Carnivores were definitely a bigger diameter shaft. But I had a lot of success with those, and I went to the Rampage. But these new ones here, I've been pretty impressed with them so far. But and I liked it because they were lighter weight. But if I wanted to add more up front, to for better FLC, I could go ahead and do that. But I thought, I'll just try to. But yeah, I think they're falling around 405. But we'll see how those work this year. So
Yeah. Well, that's
yeah,
awesome, man.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I am gonna hit our closing questions real quick because we are getting to our time. Like I said earlier, I could probably sit on here and talk hunting all night. It's a common problem that I run into. But first question I have for you, I ask every first time guest on the show these questions is what is either your favorite or one of your favorite hunting memories to date, and tell us a little bit about it.
Man, so I can tell you that right now. Uh, it was my first. The one I remember the most was it was in Iowa, in, I think 2019. Um, and it's when my dad was there with me, and my dad and we've hunted a lot with each other over the years, but this one, dad fell and wasn't gonna be able to make it. I mean, dad, it was cold that year. It was like -13. I mean, it was brutal. Dad's out there with Crocs, and he couldn't. His foot had swollen so big, so much, he could not get in his boot. He between that and his
Oh
ankle,
man.
he probably should have. It was mad. I mean, like triple the size, and he's
Whew.
out there, and poor guy could only hunt out of a blind. That's it, because he couldn't get in a tree, um, but man, I took a, I think he scored 159 and some change, 8 point. We're
Wow.
real blessed, but it was just that it was, and the reason I say it's special because this year when I hunted Iowa, my dad, he didn't, well, he didn't get drawn and didn't hunt, but I mean, I teared up. I'm not gonna lie, I teared up so many times because I would pass this. There's one restaurant up there that we went to, no, just a mom and pop restaurant. Passed it, I ended up eating there a couple times, and you're sitting there by yourself, but you just see your dad across from you,
Yeah.
and there's a couple of gas stations, and I don't know why this one we got gas there, and we had truck issues while we were there, and we thought we put maybe some gas in this truck instead of diesel, you name it, and that's why I remember the gas station. It ended up being a wiring harness, issue, but man, I tell you, just and that whole hunt was just, man, it was something. I don't know. I felt connected out there. I put so much into that, but just having your dad, and the older I get, my dad's almost 80, and it's like, he may not be here that much longer. So I just I just seeing that, man, and seeing his face, he was just as happy for me when I killed that deer when he come down and off this ridge and saw it and everything. He's just hobbling because he couldn't walk. Those are just memories,
Yeah.
and man, it's just um those are that one will probably forever be etched in my mind, and, I mean, that me my first buck by myself, it was a spike, you mentioned earlier, I'm happy. Dude, I was the happiest man in that county killing a spike. I was by myself, probably 35 foot up in this tree, can't believe my dad let me, but, it's things like that, um yeah, yeah, because I've always had my dad with me, but that Iowa hunt, man, it just meant something special because Iowa was a special place, especially for my boy from Tennessee,
Yeah.
and getting experience with your dad. But um, and I actually took some photos here and there, and I think they were using a magazine or something like that with him. It's with him. It's just kind of cool, you see that. So yeah,
Yeah.
so that would be that would be the one, man.
I love that, man. I love the father son legacy, if you will, and the traditions and the memories that come with that. I'm living that right now as well. I grew up hunting with my dad. My dad is still healthy as a horse, but I mean he's almost 70, himself.
Yeah.
So kind of I understand that, I I take more value in the time that I get to spend with them and everything in the woods because especially right now because my son is 7 now, so now
Oh,
he's wanting to
really?
get out there and stuff. So we have 3 generations out there now, so I'm trying to soak it all in while we have that because it's special times for sure. So
It is, man. You take it for granted a lot of times. I know I do, and
yeah.
just when I was out there with him, but it hit hard just driving past those places this year, and I even called my nephew, and I was like, I just about teared up seeing the going past his gas station when I was eating. I was trying not to be teared up. I was eating. Well, he was probably thinking, "Oh man, I feel sorry for that kid. He's going through." Oh no, it's just
What's wrong with him? Oh man.
sure.
Well,
Yeah.
last question I got for you, Chad, is what is on your bucket list? What is that once in a lifetime hunt or hunts that you hope that you get to do in your life?
Yeah, I can answer this one easily too. I preface this too because well, first, and it's not an elk. Well, I want to kill elk really bad, all right, but man, that a red stag.
Mm,
I've always that is my bucket list. I've always wanted one. I just think they're beautiful animals, and I have always wanted to, and I'll say this too, because my wife and I, we went to Scotland. Was it maybe the year before last, or I can't remember now. I think it was the year before last, whatever. Yeah, they're red stags. They're not like going out to New Zealand. It's like a more. I don't know. It just uh, they don't carry the size. But see, but the problem is there you can't hunt with a bow in Scotland. You can only hunt with a gun. At least right now you can't. So I guess if I were to get hunt one, I'd have to with a bow. I'd have to go to like the New Zealand or somewhere like that. But man, I just um, I still want to kill an elk really bad because I've just never had a chance to go out there. Um, and I may get a chance to do that this year. We'll see in Utah. I'm not sure.
yeah.
But man, yeah, it would be, and I would say a moose. But my wife, she wants a moose so bad she can't stand it, and I would be just as tickled to go out there and film her kill a moose as I is for me to get one.
Oh yeah.
Uh, but yeah, man, I'd love to have a stag. I just love to mount, and um, yeah, I could go different places. I want a buffalo too, man. I want, I
I
want to do
know.
like
I
this.
ask this question and normally it just keeps going.
Yeah, yeah. I made a connection. I went to this boys camp this year. It's called Life Camp USA, and I met a lady, and they do bison hunts. They had a huge ranch, and I guess they'll funnel off their ranch, and they do some bison hunts, and I know what I pay for a quarter of a cow, and I'm thinking the price. It's not cheap, but I'm thinking that's the same price I'd pay for a full cow.
Yeah.
If I were to get it by the meat, and I've got bison meat, and I'm and a mount and everything. So that I don't know, I mean, because I've always seen these big buffalo and mounts. I thought that'd be super cool having
Oh yeah.
yeah, but I'm gonna stick with the stag, and just because, man, I don't know. I mean, it'd be at least a fun hunt, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that would be an incredible experience for sure. And I hope you get to go on your elk hunt. That's one I'm still hoping to cross off the list as well. That's the hunt I went on yet last year actually. I try to do one hunt every year that I haven't been on before. And
Yeah.
it was elk last year. I had one. I'm bow only. I don't rifle hunt big game, and I had one at 50 yards. I just didn't have a clear shot. I was full draw and ready to go. And after experiencing that, I'm like, I got to go back. I got to try again. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, I got a call next week with the guy, and he's invited me to go out, and it's public, and but we'll see. It's hard. I mean, it's been hard because to be straight up honest, if I hunt Kansas this year, even though this is private, it's a big rancher out there that he's not an outfitter, but it's my buddy who is an outfitter. Talked to him and said, okay, this is a good price point, so help me out some, don't give me but I ran numbers. If I hunt public, I was going to be out, between hotel stay and gas and everything. And I thought, man, it's not a big difference.
Yeah.
And not having to fight the public crowd. That I thought, that's why I told the guy, about this elk hunt. I said, it depends, because my hunting funds, I have like an account for that. And I said, it's not, it goes quick,
Oh yeah, it sure does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
man.
Well, Chad, thank you for coming on the show this evening. I really enjoyed this conversation. I hope it's not the only time you're on our show. You're welcome back anytime. But I appreciate you accepting the invite and coming on here and just hanging out and talking hunting and bow addicts and all the awesome stuff you got going on. So thank you.
Awesome, brother. Yeah, man. I enjoyed it, Sam.
Well, for our listeners, you guys make sure that you go check out Bow Addicts, Euro Addicts, everything that these folks got going on. Appreciate you guys tuning in to the podcast, and I will be back with you guys again next week for another episode. Thanks for tuning in. Hang tight with me for 1 second, Chad.
All right, buddy.